There are some games that just need a sequel. Whether we've been left on a serious cliffhanger, or the game is just so damn good that we want even more. There are plenty of titles that deserve another installment, but it's not always the case. We're looking at you, Valve, king of leaving people hanging for that third game. But while we wait and hope that our dreams will be answered, in the meantime, here are our top 8 games that we believe deserve a sequel. If you're heading on this nostalgia trip with us, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to alert everyone on this list that we're expecting a follow-up. Thanks.
We'll start with the most obvious one. We've been waiting for a sequel to Half-Life 2 for 12 years. And if we're honest, we quietly admitted to ourselves it will probably never happen. Even so, it needs to happen. We need answers. Since it's been over a decade, let's get you up to speed. Half-Life 2 took everything great from the original Half-Life and either improved upon it or left it unchanged. We were once again placed in the hazmat suit of Gordon Freeman, but this time he's stuck in a chilling future dystopia where the effects of Black Mesa's research has resulted in the Combine spreading across the entire world. By the end of Half-Life 2's second expansion, Gordon and Alex were preparing to head off on an expedition to find the Borealis, an Aperture Science research vessel that they hope will aid in the repelling of the Combine. But before they can do so, they are attacked by slug-like Combine advisors who murder Alex's father Eli and leave the plant in ruins. And that's how it ends. What a cliffhanger. We need answers and, to be honest, a bit of closure. Half-Life 3 would ultimately continue the story, showing how the Portal and Half-Life universes are linked and how Gordon finally brings an end to this whole disaster thing he started by pushing a crystal into a laser beam back in 1998. And, of course, we'd hope for a few more details on Mr. G-Man. Just who is he, and what does he want? All these burning questions remain unresolved to this day. Thanks, Valve.
Now I'm old and hardened by the world, I find myself wanting to go back to school. Not just any school, of course, but Rockstar School. Bully, originally released back in 2006, is our favourite coming-of-age story. If by coming of age you mean battling with bullies, ditching class in favour of climbing that social ladder, and of course making out with as many people as we can. Yeah, sounds about right actually. And yet no matter how much I want to go back to school, Rockstar simply won't let me. The developer seems happy to make countless Grand Theft Autos and 3 Red Dead games, but there's no sign of Bully 2. But there should be, because Bully is brilliant. It takes so many things that we love about the GTA games and channels them into a schoolyard sim. As 15-year-old delinquent Jimmy Hopkins, you venture the turbulent and unforgiving halls of Bullworth Academy. Your goal is to take down the bullies, which you do by forming alliances with all the over-exaggerated cliques you'd expect to find in a high school. Bully's use of social interactions replaces GTA's car chases, with the focus being on deciding whether to respond positively or negatively to a particular person, or whether or not to kiss that girl. And then there are the classes themselves. Every lesson teaches you new gameplay mechanics, such as chemistry providing the ability to make firecrackers and stink bombs, and gym teaching fight moves via wrestling class. If only real schools were this good. For years we have been pining for a Bully 2, and for years speculation has mounted as to whether or not we'll actually get it. Internet rumours have suggested a sequel has been in the works for years, but a brighter clue was found in 2018 when a casting call for a new unannounced video game title with a leading UK games developer where mild violence and profanity will be used in scenes with the young performer was posted. Is Bully 2 finally happening? We can only hope.
The Dark Souls trilogy changed the way we look at action RPGs, but they owe much to their predecessor, Demon's Souls, a game which did not get 2 sequels. And if you ask us, that's not fair at all. Demon's Souls is crying out for a sequel. Demon's Souls tells the story of the kingdom of Boletaria, a land which has a special place in our hearts thanks to its brutally painful yet infinitely rewarding gameplay loop. In many ways, that itch has been scratched several times by all 3 Dark Souls games, but Demon's Souls had its own idiosyncrasies that we would love to see FromSoftware build upon. Take, for example, the tendency system. Both the world and characters in Demon's Souls are categorized as either black or white, depending on the actions you take on your journey. Act as a benevolent savior, and the tendency will shift to white, providing easier enemies but lesser rewards. Become an aggressive, murderous warrior, and the tendency will become black, making enemies stronger but providing greater rewards. We'd love to see a more advanced, reactive version of this system in a sequel to Demon's Souls, perhaps even borrowing a few ideas from The Witcher on choice and consequence too. Oh, and it would be pretty good if it released on PC. Unfortunately, FromSoftware has announced no plans to continue Demon's Souls. Oh well, at least we always have Dark Souls and Sekiro to fall back on, right?
Telltale games have become synonymous with incredible storytelling, with expansive narratives where players can alter the flow of the game with their decisions. One of the best of Telltale's works is The Wolf Among Us, a noir thriller that explores a hidden world where creatures of folklore and fairy tales live together in a Manhattan community. The story follows Fabletown Sheriff Bigby Wolf as he tries to stop the community from falling apart after a brutal murder. The 5-episode series is riddled with difficult moral choices, tricky detective work, and most of all, a sombering yet magical story that forces us to face the troubling reality of societal inequality. Heavy stuff for fairy tale folk. We all desperately crave a second season of The Wolf Among Us. The final episode ends on a colossal cliffhanger, and we really need to pick things up after those final moments between Bigby and Narissa. But with Telltale having shut down in late 2018, it now seems unlikely we'll ever get to continue this story. There is a faint glimmer of hope though. Skybound Entertainment took over the development and publishing of The Walking Dead's final series when Telltale went under, so perhaps The Wolf Among Us will similarly be picked up. Well, one can dream, can't they?
When anyone mentions Borderlands, it instantly conjures up images of a cartoonish and crazy post-apocalyptic world, a world that entices you in with its zany characters, gazillions of guns, and the promise of increasingly powerful loot. To be honest, it's a world I never want to leave, but Gearbox's insistence on not making a proper sequel to Borderlands 2 means I have to stick it out in the boring real world. What's more, it's prime time we had a new Borderlands. Loads of other developers have started making Borderlands-like games. Just take a look at Destiny. It's pretty much the same thing, just like nowhere near as funny. Just imagine how much better Destiny would be if the quest involves setting up a tea party for a 13-year-old girl, or accepting an assassination contract on myself and then completing it, or collecting body parts for a malfunctioning robot who wants to become human. It's the lack of madness in other shooters that makes us pine for Borderlands all the more. But there's good news. Unlike the other games on this list, Gearbox has been teasing us with the idea of a Borderlands 3 since 2012, and to our delight, the developer started recruitment for the next Borderlands in 2015, tweeting that it will be a big one. So, although nothing has officially been announced yet, our fingers are crossed for the third installment of this ludicrously chaotic game releasing sooner rather than later.
Command & Conquer has become synonymous in history with real-time strategy gaming thanks to its inventive sci-fi units and soap opera-style cutscenes. But it's the Command & Conquer game that features neither of these that we really want a sequel for. C&C Generals is hands down our favourite game in the entire series. It trades time travel and Tiberium for 3 near-future factions: the USA, China, and the Global Liberation Army terrorist group. More importantly, it introduces the General's ability system, which unlocks new powers, abilities, and technology as your number of kills increases. There's definitely something to be said for being rewarded for mass killing, but we'll save that for another day. There's been a real lack of Command & Conquer style RTS games over the last decade, and as PC players we're really pining for a modern day take on the formula. The General system itself seems exceptionally fit to adapt to lessons learned from hero shooters for the RTS genre. Sadly, despite a failed attempt several years ago by EA and Victory Games to bring Generals back into the fight, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting a sequel anytime soon.
Remember Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri? Back when Civilization was just a 2-game series, Sid Meier's team took everything that made their 4X games awesome, then added a whole lot more. Alpha Centauri waves goodbye to the good old Earth setting for which we had become accustomed and says hello to a new alien planet that is full of potential. Of course, humans still disagree over practically everything, so once again different factions are formed and split off with their own ideas of how to rule. Yeah, it's Civilization in space, but Alpha Centauri has its own flavour that can't be replicated in Firaxis' long-running Earthbound series. That's something we all realise with Civilization Beyond Earth. You see, it's not enough to just replicate the 4X gameplay. Alpha Centauri has a fantastic story. The planet you're colonizing is gradually revealed to be a sentient hive mind, and your world-destroying actions need to be reversed lest you face the consequences. Humanity's next steps are interesting to say the least, with plenty of religious and philosophical ideas made manifest. It's this 2001 A Space Odyssey side to Alpha Centauri that was missing from Beyond Earth, and what we hope we'll one day see again in a true sequel to Sid Meier's aging gem.
The Star Wars Jedi Knight series is a cornerstone of PC gaming. Starting with Dark Forces back in the 90s, it evolved over several years to become perhaps the truest Jedi simulator ever put together. The last game to be released, Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, is fondly remembered for its incredible lightsaber combat. Jedi Academy allows you to forge your own lightsaber, choosing its color and blade design, which makes you feel like a true student of the Jedi art. And if putting together your own humming saber staff wasn't already the best thing in PC gaming, Jedi Academy also introduced the Power Duel multiplayer mode that allows thrilling clashes with other players. It's the ultimate Star Wars fantasy, and it would be amazing on next-gen hardware. So where's our new Jedi Knight game, huh? Several years ago, The Force Unleashed turned up as a potential successor to Jedi Knight's throne, but proved a mere shadow. And that's another point in history we were all set to continue the story of mercenary Kyle Katarn, as LucasArts was planning to release Star Wars Jedi Knight 3: Brink of Darkness. But it was cancelled and the story was never continued. Now our only hope lies with Respawn's upcoming Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It may not have the words Knight or Academy in the title, but we sense that this one might be the game we're looking for.
And those are the 8 games that really deserve a sequel. We can only hope somewhere in the world someone is listening to us and is going to do us all a favour and make those glorious games that we all desire. But until then, you can do us a favour so we can continue making sequels to our videos by subscribing to PC Games N, liking this video, and poking that alert bell while you're at it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you later.